Hey everybody, it's Doc. Welcome to the channel, and today we're going to talk basics of the Rav4 plug-in hybrid, essentially how it works, what drive modes you can put it into, and maybe even a little bit of gauge setup. So let's get to it. So this is my 2025 Rav4 plug-in hybrid in Blueprint Blue, and you might notice that if you've watched my videos before, how it's not as dirty as it normally is. And that's because I recently did a video on a graphene product called Ethos. And by golly, it's kind of working. I mean, it's scummy looking. There's no doubt about it, because I live on gravel, it's dry. But overall, it is a lot cleaner than it normally is. But let's get to the subject today, which is basically, well, it's the basics. It's the basics of how does this vehicle work? So the Rav4 Prime, or what they call it now, the plug-in hybrid, basically combines electric motor power with a gasoline engine. So it allows it to act like a pure electric vehicle for short trips, a hybrid vehicle for long trips, and the bonus is, which for me is a big bonus, it becomes a performance-enhanced all-wheel drive SUV when you want it to, under certain circumstances. All right. Oh, gotta put the little stick down. There we go. All right. So as I mentioned before, we're just going to cover the basics of this vehicle. And if you take a peek under the hood, you see a whole lot of wires and connections and cables, and you're probably wondering, what the heck is all this? So what we have here is a 2.5 liter four-cylinder engine, and as I recall, it's about 177-ish horsepower. And within this unit, or somewhere in here, in the front, there also is a front electric motor which drives the front wheels and assists the engine. The electric motor up front is, again, about 170-ish horsepower, something like that. And then in the back, and there's no connection between the front and the back as far as drivetrain goes. In the back, there's another electric motor in the rear, and that is about 50-ish horsepower. And within this unit, there is an 18.1 kilowatt lithium-ion battery, which for all intents and purposes stores the energy for the electric driving. There is a power control unit that manages the power flow between the batteries, the motor, and the engine. And then there is the ECVT transaxle, which seamlessly blends the power from the engine and the motors so you can drive. Sounds pretty simple, right? I think it's pretty complex, but it's also very, very cool technology-wise. All you really need to know about this conglomeration of stuff under here is that this vehicle needs to go to the service department once a year or every 5,000 miles, whichever comes first, to have the oil changed. Now, fuel-wise, you put the fuel in over here, and to do that, you have to press this button to open up the fuel hatch. So that's how gas goes in it. And then on the other side, over here, we have our plug-in port. And it's not normally painted yellow. I paint it yellow because I'm a little bit scatterbrained in the morning when I unplug this thing, and I may or may not have driven to work several times with my little cap floating on the outside. So I paint it yellow so it reminds me I need to put that back over. And you know, one little disappointing thing about this is this area, when it rains or go through a car wash, it gets super wet in there, so it's really not cool, but I don't think that's a big problem. So what we have is, we have our plug-in here, and what you need to be aware of is if you're plugging this into a 110 volt, like a regular plug-in into the wall, it's going to take somewhere between 9 and 12 hours to charge up to the 40 miles. Or if you choose to go with an option that's a little bit faster, what you can do is you can have installed a 50 amp plug-in, or I've already had this here because this is for my welder. And what I have is I have an old Tesla mobile charger cable, and it has an adapter on it to plug into the Rav4. What you can't do with the Rav4 is it is not capable of DC charging. You cannot take this to a supercharger. You can't do a fast charge on it. However, if you choose to wait, that's going to change in 2026. The new Rav4, certain models of the new Rav4 will be able to direct charge and get that fast charge within like 30 minutes. Is there any benefit to that? For me, I don't see that benefit, because why not just gas it up and go? So there's no sense in direct charging, but some people might want to do that. So you can do that in 2026 if you want to wait. Something that some people might get a little confused with is the drive modes that are available and how to read the gauges or interpret the gauges when you're in those drive modes. So when we start off, when you start the car, you're most likely going to start in normal. And with normal mode will give you a balanced throttle response and efficiency. It automatically blends electric and gas power as needed. If you choose to go to eco mode, which basically you turn this dial like this, you see everything turn green, and then the car pops up on the dash, that shows you're in eco mode. If there's any question of it, you can see the eco mode button right there. And what eco mode does for you is essentially it optimizes the throttle and the climate control for fuel efficiency and reduces acceleration response to save fuel. Now, if you want to get sporty, we move on to sporty mode, or sport mode, sorry. And again, you turn there, you get the red dial, you get the picture of the car saying it's going into sport mode, and then you notice that here it says it is in sport mode. And what sport mode does for you is it increases throttle response for a more aggressive driving feel, and it still uses the electric motor for assist when available. There are multiple EV modes, which are hybrid electric control modes, and these specifically manage how the vehicle uses the battery versus the engine. So first off, we have EV mode, which the car automatically pops into that for whatever reason. And what happens with this is the Rav4 runs only on battery power for up to 42 miles. And we can see I'm actually being very efficient here. So I've got a range of 44 miles, and I'm getting about 2.4 miles per kilowatt hour, which is darn near Model Y efficiency. That's, give or take 400-ish watts per mile, and that's not too bad. Electric mode only is great for short trips without using gas, and it deactivates if there's heavy acceleration needed or if the battery is low. So when the battery gets down to, probably about 25%, it will actually just go into hybrid mode, where it's only used for the hybrid, and there are certain things you can't access with that, which in particular is the very fast mode that I like to use. There also is a couple of other modes. There is HV mode, which is hybrid vehicle mode, which is over here, or it's called EV hold. And if you look here, it says EV HV mode. And the reasoning for HV mode is you can use both the gas and electric power like a regular hybrid, but it helps preserve the battery for later EV use. So it can be selected manually, or it automatically kicks in when the EV range is depleted to save the electricity that's in the battery for hybrid mode. And then there is auto EV HV mode. So we go down here and press this button again. Look up here. Down here it tells us we are in auto mode. And the auto mode essentially automatically switches between EV and hybrid operation depending on the speed, load, and battery level. It's best for general driving without thinking about the mode selection. There is one more mode to talk about, and that is, if you see the fine print here, there is the charge hold mode, which basically preserves the battery for later use when you're about to enter a city or a low emission zone. It prioritizes the gas engine to maintain or slightly recharge the battery. And one thing to know about this is you have to hold it down. So I'm going to hold it down. And then it won't work if the battery's full. So my battery's full right now, so we can't use that. And we also have, for the all-wheel drive models, we have trail mode, which is right here. Press that button and nothing happens. Try that again. Oh, there we go. Okay, so there's a trail marker right there. It tells you that you're in trail mode. And essentially what trail mode does is it adjusts the torque distribution, the braking, and the throttle for better traction on rough terrain or slippery surfaces. It's really not an off-road mode, but it does help with gravel, snow, and light trails. So in summary, essentially, if you're in normal mode, you're going to have gas plus electric, balanced everyday driving. Eco mode, again, gas and electric, but it maximizes your fuel efficiency. Sport mode, which is gas and electric for quicker acceleration. EV mode, which is electric only, and it often automatically goes into that if you just have it in normal or eco mode. That is for short range, zero emission drive. And for me, I use that for my commute. I have like a 50-ish mile commute every day, and I will let it just run through, run out, and I use, maybe 15 miles worth of gasoline a day, which is the optimum way to use this vehicle, to be honest. And the money that I save on not filling up this vehicle, if you see up there, there's my Yukon. When I was commuting with my Yukon, I was spending $60, $70 a week at least in gasoline, and that savings is palpable. So I love this vehicle for that reason. So back to our summary. If you're in auto EV/HV mode, essentially it's just auto switching, hands-free efficiency. You don't have to do anything. If you want to go to charge hold, that essentially saves the battery for later, and you drive primarily on gas. And then the trail mode, which is the all-wheel drive system, is tuned for off-pavement traction support. Although, to be honest, I wouldn't trust it that far because it's all-wheel drive, not four-wheel drive, and it's not an off-road vehicle. So save it for the gravel, save it for the snow. Any which way, that's not what this vehicle is designed for. For some of you, I'm sure that the most burning question is, how do I get the fastest acceleration out of this? Because remember, this is the fastest RAV4 that Toyota's ever made. And for a while, I think it was the fastest Toyota in the entire lineup. So what you want to do is you want to go to Sport, okay? And that puts you into Sport mode. And then you want to go to either EV mode or Auto mode. So you would push the Auto button. That gives you EV Auto here. The reason why this works is because Sport mode will sharpen the throttle response and give you maximum motor output. When the battery is charged, and the battery has to be charged, this won't work when it's depleted, the electric motors deliver instant torque. If you floor it in auto EV/HV mode, the system will add the gas engine power to the electric motors, giving a total system output of 302 horsepower. This gives you a 0 to 60 in about 5.7 seconds, which again, making this the fastest RAV4 Prime, I should say quickest RAV4 ever. Something to keep in mind, if you're in EV mode only, that's still pretty fast due to the electric torque, but it caps the power and disables the gas engine. It's best for smooth but not peak performance. If you want maximum speed, like passing or quick starts, let the hybrid system use both the electric and the gas by putting it into Sport and having it in either HV/EV mode or auto mode, and you'll have your little speed demon that you like for yourself. So looking at the gauges, you can see here, this is a standard setup where this dial will rotate between eco, power, charging, depending on whether you're under power, whether you're running on just a battery, or whether you're regenerating because you're coasting. And then we have our range for the EV down here. We have our EV performance here. This is how efficient you are being. And then in the middle, and all of these are customizable. This is the way I have it set up. This is my preferred setup. And then you have your speedometer over on the other side with the trip distance and the trip time, and then how much distance you have on hybrid only, which mine's at 434. That meter does not go down much because I primarily use electric in this vehicle. But if you look over here at these gauges, okay, and there's the OK button. If you look in the middle and you, okay, so we're going to go back and you hold the OK button, you'll see a little dial pop up there. And then you can switch that over to this side. You can rotate through whatever different screens you'd like to have. I like to have my basic efficiency one. And I'll get back to that. There it is. And then you can pop over, change this setting to whatever you like. What I like is I like to have the road setup, which basically that shows me when I've turned on the Toyota Safety Sense and whether it's actually operating or not. And then over to the other side, oh, we're going to have to push our dial again. Okay, so there we go. And with the speedometer side, you can do audio, you can do a compass, you can do the little road thing, or blank, I guess. I usually just keep up the drive info, and then if you let it sit long enough, it will actually just pop out of it, and then you're set. Another quick feature to go through before we're done is if you hold this little arrow down, you'll see a little screen pops up on the bottom there, and that allows you to switch between 3 different setups of gauges, and you can do this on the fly if you want to have different set of gauges. I have this on the GR Corolla. With the Rav4, I don't use it very often, but there's different modes you can go to with different setups. If you have a setup and your wife likes a different setup, you can switch through that pretty easily. You can see why I like this car a lot, because the tech is cool, the efficiency is cool, and the fact that I can make it a little mini hot rod when I want to, that's super cool as well. So if you guys have any comments, any questions, any tips that you can throw at me, please throw them in the comments section and I will answer as fast as I can. On that note, you guys have a great day. We'll see you out there.